Oops, forgot to add myself to the screen there. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Financial Astrology. Right, this evening, so this is a little bit of a surprise live for people. Not many people will be expecting this, but on Mondays going forward, if I can, and if I'm not too interrupted by world events, etc., all that kind of stuff, I'm going to try and make sure I do videos on Mondays, but don't hold me to it too much. Pardon me. I'll do them as often as I can. Now, this is a continuation of because I was looking at the billionaires and stuff like that. There's been so much news. Oh, someone's here already. Hello, Sherry. I wasn't really expecting anyone at all. I've just literally come on as a surprise. Thank you, Sherry, for joining me. And tonight I'm going to be talking about Jeff Bezos. Yes, Jeff Bezos. And as you know, I've spoken, I've done a deep dive, of course, on Elon Musk. Yeah, Elon Musk's chart, overlaid it with the USA's chart, including that of Trump. So we could anticipate some of the potential impact that he would make on Americans. And I think that's been quite profound. And I think a lot of that is just basically proven true already. But I want to talk about Jeff Bezos. Now, one of the reasons why I want to talk about him is because, of course, he is very much an oligarch. And of course, this is a word that's very much that is very much in vogue right now. It's been a word that's been around for a long time, of course, normally applied to Russian oligarchs. But of course, there's oligarchs all over the world. And of course, America has plenty of them as well. And as many of you will know, I've been talking incessantly for years. You guys must be so tired of it now, where I've been talking about Pluto being in the sign of Capricorn, sidereal Capricorn. And Capricorn is the sign of governments, but it's also the sign of corporations, big business, top-down structures, infrastructure, government spending, all of these things. And Pluto at the moment is moving through. America is having it particularly intense because America is going through its first Pluto return. Many of you who watch me regularly will know that, but for newcomers, this is something that happens only once every 248 years, and it became exact, or truly began in February of 2024. Yeah, February 2024. So we're just over a year into that full Pluto return in sidereal Capricorn. And oh my goodness, what is it that we've seen? Pluto is the planet of what? Plutocrats. That's where we get the word plutocracy from. It deals with oligarchy. It deals with power, huge amounts of power. It can also deal with huge debts, but also as well, huge wealth. Many people don't know that Pluto, or Hades, used to be considered one of the original gods of wealth. And one of the things what I'm finding is when we're looking at these oligarchs charts, there is often a connection there with Pluto, and there's often a connection as well with Gemini. Yeah, with Gemini. Now, why do I say that? Gemini is known for its communication. Yeah, Gemini, of course, belongs to planet Mercury. Planet Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. But Mercury has friends. Yeah, Saturn and Venus, and the three of them together are the planets of business. Yeah, so Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo, Venus rules Taurus and Libra, Saturn rules Capricorn and Aquarius. Now, any sign can be in business, but these are business signs in particular. So with Saturn, for example, Capricorn, like I said, rules business, government, all of those kind of things, executives, top-down structures, institutions. Aquarius deals with distribution systems of all kinds. It deals with the marketplace. It deals with humanity as a whole. So, of course, if you're going to be a big, successful business person, you need planets as well, activation in Aquarius. And Venus, Venus is a business planet because Taurus deals with commodities, food, yeah, luxuries, vehicles. Venus deals with vehicles, but asset classes of all kinds, the thing that's being bought and sold. And Mercury is the communications, the writing of the contracts, the emails, the advertising. But Gemini in particular is very significant in business persons. This is what I am finding. So when we dig through his chart, we're going to have a dig through his chart. And then I'm going to share my screen with you as well to look at some of the business practices that Jeff Bezos employs at Amazon in particular, which affect many Americans, but can also affect many people globally, because, of course, where the leaders go, others tend to follow. So I'm actually amazed. Quite a few of you here, so I'll just click up. Let's say some thank yous. Oh, Callista. 1 minute. What am I doing here? 1 second. I've clicked the wrong thing. Callista, so nice to see you in the live chat. Thank you so much. Deborah is here. Cutie Pie's here. Hello. Teresa is here. Who else? We've got Brenda. Thank you so much for joining. Sherry, of course, I can't hear what you have to say. Welcome. I love you so much. Oh, thank you. Bless you. Thank you so much. How did the tennis match go? It was good. We came second in the end. The other team were pretty good, but it was so interesting to see how everybody responded to the pressure. I was quite proud of myself, actually. I think I held up, very well. But I used to play tournament competitions in my teens and stuff for not professional, but kind of county levels. So you would say maybe college, the equivalent of like college tennis. So I used to play for points and prize money and all that kind of stuff. But, small level, but I would have loved to have been a professional tennis player, but unfortunately the circumstances weren't quite right for it. But I will be I'm going to be entering, in fact, I've entered a tennis tournament in Hanover, Germany. So in August, I'll be going there with some friends. So I'm getting the old spirit, the old competitive juices are going again. And it's so good, of course, exercise as well for fitness and mental health and all of that kind of stuff. Oh, hello, Stories by the Numbers is here. Thank you so much. And Bunny Young saying, love what you do. And Sherry saying, woohoo, thank you. And congratulations, on the second prize. Yeah, we've got some trophies and, stuff like that. Right, so I'll begin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share, as usual. So look, I've got his Jeff Bezos's chart here. And as usual, when I do these deep dives, I'll do the scan of his chart and I'll put his chart in the community section so you can see the notations that I've put on there to give you some kind of insights. You would have seen the one beforehand, which was the Elon Musk one, and the bits here in blue are Trump's planets. So you can see here, Elon Musk and Trump have a lot of planets in common. Yeah, they're in lockstep. And they, of course, have got planets in Gemini as well, because Gemini really is a sign of business. It has a lot to do with business and stuff like that. So if I'm going to do share screen, and then we're going to talk. We're going to talk a bit about, in fact, actually, when I do my presentation, let me just give you an overview of something that I saw online, just to put things into context. And how this affects things. Or should I do it the other way around? No, I want to show first. Let's do, just to give a little bit of context. So put that, yes, and then I'm going to share that. Let me know if the sound is good. Hopefully it's all good. All right, so you should be able to see this now. So this is just went to Uncle Google, yeah? Just to give a little context. And, in Google now, they do this AI overview stuff, which is actually pretty good. It's pretty concise. So we can see here, AI overview. Jeff Bezos and Amazon have been criticized for their treatment of workers and their opposition to unions. Now, of course, why is this important? Because, of course, Amazon is a huge employer. As we know, Jeff Bezos is a multi-billionaire, and you can actually see that in his chart because he's got a lot of wealth yogas, as you would expect for someone who's got that as much money as he has. And unlike a certain Elon, who is technically, the richest man in the world, but we need to remember Elon's wealth is to do with his share price for Tesla and his multi-billion contracts with government. Yeah. Whereas with Jeff Bezos, it's very much built up, because of his companies and stuff like that. So for me personally, I feel in the billionaires race for whatever that was worth, I feel there's more merit with Jeff. To be honest, it's more of his own enterprise rather than, this contract here, that contract there, leveraged against his Tesla share price, where the Tesla cars all blowing up and exploding and stuff like that. We're not think that much of Jeff Bezos, but when we get our parcels, they don't blow up, do they? Most of the time we get what is that we want. So here, Jeff Bezos and Amazon have been criticized for their treatment of workers and their oppositions to unions. So union opposition. Amazon has used anti-union tactics. Let me know if you can see this page. Hopefully you can see it fine. Amazon has used anti-union tactics, including one-on-one conversations with supervisors, captive audience meetings, and anti-union media. Amazon has sued the NLRB over a union election at New York City warehouse in April 2022. So they've sued the unions. Amazon has refused to negotiate with the Amazon Labor Union, ALU, after the ALU won the election. So imagine that. So this is the Amazon Labor Union, and they won the election within to basically represent the employees of Amazon. And they've refused to negotiate with them, even though it's come organically from within. Amazon has been accused of illegally firing workers who tried to organize, and then worker treatment. Amazon employees are being injured at rates higher than the national average for the warehouse industry. Amazon has been criticized for poor working conditions in Europe and elsewhere. Amazon has been criticized for surveillance of workers. Regulatory response. The European Parliament has called Bezos to testify about Amazon's treatment of workers. In the US, several states have passed warehouse protection laws aimed at Amazon's productivity requirements. So imagine that. Several states have had to pass warehouse protection laws to protect those people from Amazon, yeah? And in the UK, the Parliament is debating an employee rights bill that would make union recognition easier. So I wanted just to give a little bit of context there, just to give you guys a background of what we're talking about here and why I've decided to feature Jeff Bezos. Because he is so influential. Of course, Amazon is one of the biggest companies, as we know, in the world. He was already an extraordinarily wealthy man, but of course, over COVID, like many of the billionaire class, his profits went through the roof. Well, the roof wasn't even there. Let's just say they went through the cathedral ceiling. Yeah, just astonishing levels of gains. And the reckoning still has to happen on that, because actually COVID, it turns out, was one of the biggest transfers of wealth to ever happen in human history. And that is not even an exaggeration. Truly, it was. In that time, that was when some of the most billionaires were being made on earth. Of course, everyone was at home. No one could go out to the shops. So obviously, everyone was on Amazon, yeah, ordering on it. And of course, it was a service. Of course, it was a service. None of us are saying we didn't want Amazon to deliver. He provided a service, as he's been doing for decades. But of course, if no one can go to the shops, we need to remember, when you're a big business, you have competition. Yeah, you have competition. And it's very, very difficult to compete with Amazon because of it. You know, they have warehouses. They don't have shop fronts. Their shop front, of course, is the website. Very, very efficient website. Many things they've pioneered there, like buying with one click, for example, that they were, you know, able to patent, etc. And when we look at his chart, you will see there's this strong drive for efficiency, but there's also this element there of cruelty as well. But it is a model that has been copied by, of course, many businesses, many institutions, which of course is a bit of a problem because it doesn't put the worker first. And they've actively blocked people unionizing so they can be paid more and have better working hours, etc., because of course, as we know, it's all about the profit. So I'm gonna share. Let's do share screen again. Let's do entire screen. Click on that, and then I'm going to get up his chart, which should be waiting here. And we're also going to see what the Great Awakening is going to be doing for Bezos. Yeah. So here we are. Here's Jeff Bezos was born on the 12th of January, 1964. 11:33 a.m. in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And instantly, the second that I knew that he was born in 1964, I was like, aha, that means he would have been born under the Pluto-Uranus combination, which we can see down here. Yeah. So first of all, so he is a Pisces rising according to Vedic astrology, which of course is sidereal and follows the movement of the stars. And I've just seen his ascendant is in the nakshatra Revati. Now, Revati is actually Pisces in general can be a very gentle. It's known as a very gentle sign. Loves peace. Many of you watching my channels, or maybe watching, of course, watching other channels, or who come to me for consultations, etc., stuff like that. Many of you have Pisces strong in your chart, as well as Gemini, and of course the Leos and the Cancerians, and Sagittarius as well. So there's these signs that are very interested, or ascendants in particular, that are very interested in astrology. Now, he's got Jupiter here in the first house in Revati. Now, there are positives to this, like it is very... So what is, when someone's got Jupiter in the first house, it actually blesses the body. Yeah, the first house is considered the body. In general, they tend to be optimistic and expansive people because Jupiter is the ruler of the chart, because Jupiter rules Pisces in old money, yeah, rules Pisces and Sagittarius. And whenever Jupiter is in the first house, which is in the body, it also gets something called Dig Bala, which means directional strength. So this is a very powerful Jupiter. Jupiter is also a planet of wealth as well. So we can see here already there are certain hallmarks for extraordinary wealth in Jeff Bezos's chart. The positives of Revati can have a lot to do with animals, the love of animals, healing, creativity. Is very creative, very imaginative. But what I'm learning increasingly is that Jupiter's shadow, yeah, because even though he's known as the Great Benefic, all planets have their positive sides and their not so positive sides. So of course, with the malefics, the cruel planets, which is, you know, Saturn, Mars, the Sun is a mild malefic, Rahu, Ketu, yeah, they're known as malefics. The moon, it varies, depends how bright she is. When it's a full moon, she's always benefic, but if she's a darker moon, more malefic. But again, it depends on the company. Likewise with Mercury as well, depends who he's with. If he's with benefics, he's going to be more sweet. If he's with malefics, he's going to be more cruel. However, just because a planet's cruel doesn't mean it can't give good results. In fact, cruel planets can give superb results if we're prepared to do the work. But the sweet planets, Venus and Jupiter. Venus is known as the lesser benefic. Jupiter is known as the greater benefic. But The shadow of Jupiter can be illusion and delusion, yeah, unrealistic expectations, over optimism, over expansion, being excessive, being over the top. Jupiter can actually be, and I don't mean to critique him too much. I love Jupiter, but he can be a very over the top planet. However, the darkest shadow of Jupiter, what I've found, which is a scourge across the world, it is greed. Yeah. The weakness of Jupiter, the Achilles heel of Jupiter in some people manifests as extreme greed. And we can see here, he's got a very, very powerful Jupiter here in his first house. He's also as well, if I look here, and Jupiter, is the Lord of the first house, and it's in the first house. So that can make a person, not always, but they're a bit more into themselves. Let's put it that way. And because this Jupiter is Digbala, it's getting directional strength. Mercury and Jupiter love to be in the first house. So it does bless with a lot of intelligence as well. Jupiter is a planet of wisdom and intelligence. And, no one's going around calling Jeff Bezos stupid. He isn't. I've seen documentaries on him. He is a very bright guy. Yeah. But I think there are some issues there, isn't there, with the old greed. Anyway, so I just wanted to show you that for you to see that. If we look over here, if we go to his 10th house, we can see he's got the moon, he's got Mercury, he's got Ketu, the south node of the moon, and the sun all together in Sagittarius in the 10th. Wow. Now that's a big combination. Now, the more planets that are in houses, the more emphasis they have. When a house is empty, it doesn't mean it's not doing anything. It just doesn't have as much emphasis. So anytime you see planets in houses, those houses become more pronounced. They become more important because there's more energy there. Very simple, isn't it? Also, as well, when planets transit certain houses, that also brings emphasis. So here we see he has a stellium in the 10th house. A stellium is when you've got 3 planets or more in one sign. Here he's got 4. So this is actually quite a big stellium. And the 10th house is our highest purpose, our duties, our career, the world stage. And here we can see he's got sun and moon there. Now, the sun and the moon are the main luminaries of the chart in the sense of giving the light. The sun, of course, is literally the light provider, the light giver. Without the sun, there's nothing. Yeah, we're just done. As they say, it takes, 8 minutes? I think it's 7 or 8 minutes for the sun's rays to reach planet Earth. So you can imagine if the sun were to just collapse into itself tomorrow and vanish, after 8 minutes, we would start to freeze up pretty quickly on planet Earth. Yeah, because the sun is always looking at one side of Earth or another. But the sun also deals with leaders, deals with CEOs. The sun, of course, is the king or the executive branch. And the 10th house is considered the most powerful house. It's one of the most powerful angles. And the sun loves to be in the 10th. It gets Digbala in the 10th house. So do you see here, there's this very strong inclination in Jeff Bezos's chart to, be a leader, be first to be seen. Yeah, the sun wants to be seen. And this is also true as well for people that are born around midday. So from around 11 a.m. up until about 1, up from around about 11 a.m. up until about 1 p.m., the sun is going to be in the 10th house or the 9th or the 11th, in a high house. And of course, Jeff Bezos was born at 11:33 a.m. Sun in the 10th, yeah? Only by a little bit. You see the sun is, it's actually the sun moves 1 degree a day. In fact, actually ignore that. That's just where the progression of the sun through the sign of Sagittarius, but it's in the 10th. That's the whole point. So there is a big inclination for him to be a leader in his career. The career is exceptionally important to him because it's getting the most emphasis. It's also got the moon here, which is also another luminary, but it's the reflected light of the sun. And the moon deals with the public. Yeah, the moon deals with the public. Also, as well, the sun and moon here are both strong by sign placement. Why? Because Mars, Jupiter, moon, and the sun are all friends, and they all do well in each other's signs. Except Mars technically debilitates in the sign of Cancer, but is yet delighted. So here, the moon is strong and the sun is strong. Here too, we have Ketu, the south node of the moon, is here in Sagittarius. And actually, Ketu likes being in water signs and fire signs. So his Ketu is very strong as well. Now, remember, Ketu deals with what? Geeks. You've heard me say it before, research and geeks. Planet Mercury is actually one of the research planets. And whenever planets are conjunct the nodes of the moon, they're always intensified in some kind of way. They're also malefic, yeah? They're kind of cruel in nature, but they have a very strong flavor, a very strong effect. When planets are with Rahu, the north node of the moon, it exaggerates things. So like Rahu can actually also deal with an exceptional talent. Rahu can often deal with people that are gifted in some kind of way because it depends the planets it's with, because it will act like a steroid. It will emphasize them. Pluto also acts like a steroid as well. But Rahu expands things. Ketu contracts things. Yeah. Rahu is the head of the dragon without the body, and that's why I call Rahu gobble gobble, because he can eat and eat and eat and is never satisfied because the food, metaphorically, always falls down. Ketu is the body of the dragon without the head. Ketu is the fortress. Ketu is the vortex. Ketu is intensity. Ketu is introverted. It's introverted energy. And whenever Ketu is in the 10th house, it gives an unusual career or an inverted, more of an introverted persona on the world stage. Now, I've not met Jeff Bezos in person, but once upon a time, I'm taking you back here to 2019. A friend of mine used to live in Seattle and used to work for Amazon. And I think Amazon is headquarters, as far as I'm aware, still in Seattle. Of course, they're everywhere. He was working for them, and it was their staff entertainment day. Yeah, and it was Amazon, you know, that Amazon Prime week or something like that. And Jeff wanted to reward his staff. Yeah, I don't think there was so much the factory workers, but anyway, it was to reward their staff. And we're in this big stadium, and he put on some entertainment. That entertainment that day was Katy Perry. Yeah, and you know what? She was incredible. I don't know what her politics are or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But as a performer, as a singer, oh my God, she was really good. But anyway, I just remember before she was introduced, this weird sort of like robotic character kind of like walked up on stage. Literally, I thought the guy had been plugged in, you know, kind of, you know, like the Thunderbirds, you know, like it was like this. And I was thinking to myself, who's that? This strange kind of quite short guy, because he's only 5'7". I just saw I mean, it's not super short, but it's not very tall either. Not, you know, not that high, matters that much, but he wasn't a big figure. I was thinking, who's this person on the stage? And then he started talking in this kind of little kind of slightly strange voice. And I said to my friend Sam, I said, who is that? He said, that's Jeff Bezos. I was like, oh, I was like, really? Oh my God. And he was just this really, even though he's an exceedingly powerful person, extremely famous, well-known, incredibly successful. But when I look at that chart now, when I actually just look at that, I just think, yeah, he was very shy and introverted on the stage. And Ketu is a shy energy. It's naturally geeky, very sensitive. Can be very intuitive, but it can also deal with, you know, serial killers in their basement and stuff like that. K2, when he goes dark, it's extremely dark. Yeah. but it's next to Mercury, which is very curious, loves research, investigating things, also deals with what? Technology, but also deals with business. So here we can see this kind of geekiness with Jeff Bezos, where he's constantly thinking of ideas of his career, what he can do with Amazon, researching, never stops, never stops. The nodes of the moon can be quite relentless, but Rahu will take a break. Rahu will have a blowout of excess and then just sit back and be lazy for a while. Not K2. K2 is often known as the hottest planet. And I mean, even hotter than the sun. There's an intensity to K2, which I understand. I've got K2 in the 8th house, thankfully on its own. 8th house deals with what? Astrology and all that stuff. I can't keep myself away, can I? I'm always, I'm geeky about it. You can feel the passion, yeah? So he is geeky and he's intense about his career, but also his role on the world stage. And the Mercury is there as well, and the moon is there. But in this case, the moon is dark, yeah? The closer the moon gets to the sun, the darker she becomes, ironically. When the moon is opposite, that's a full moon when she's at her brightest, her most benefic. Even when she's in the sign of Capricorn, which she doesn't really like, if she's full, she can resist, yeah? But even though she's in a positive sign here, he was born on a new moon. It means the moon was dark. It can also mean sometimes the mother might be dark in some kind of way or feels overshadowed, particularly by the father. So here we can see there is intensity and there is a bit of darkness here. Also as well, the nodes of the moon agitate. They agitate the sun and the moon. So this is agitated. So what this says to me, as I'm getting more into this, there is quite a lot here to do with obsessive thinking, compulsion, and just being a bit too intense. This is all. There's also a lot of obsession here as well. This could be someone who's truly obsessed with his role on the world stage, yeah, and those profit margins. But let's look here. There are powerful yogas in Jeff Bezos's charts. I'm just holding this bit up here. Yeah, powerful yogas. Now, yogas are just mean combinations of planets. Yeah, in Vedic astrology. So all these planets here are producing some kind of effect or another. And wealth yogas, the more wealth yogas a person has, the more likely they are to be wealthy if they're in the right sequence in life. So Jeff has got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, he's got 4, but they're very powerful ones. And particularly the most powerful yoga, which is one of the Dana yogas, is when you have a connection between the second house, which deals with money, wealth, and resources, asset classes of all kinds, education, and the 11th house, which deals with great gains, desires, powerful friends and people. When there's a connection energetically between those two, boom, yeah, it produces a very powerful wealth yoga. And for Jeff Bezos, you see here, he's got Saturn in Capricorn. Remember what I said? Capricorn is what? The planet of what? Executives, big business. Amazon is one of the biggest businesses in the world, and he's got Saturn in his own sign. Oh, which means this Saturn is incredibly powerful. But Saturn, of course, is also cruel. Yeah, it's malefic. Saturn can give superb results, though, but he's not a happy, jolly planet. But my God, he can give some results. You'll also see here Mars is here, and this Mars is exalted. So it means when a planet is exalted, it's like 10 times more powerful. Yeah, 10 times more powerful. And it means it can do everything that it wants. But do you remember when we were looking back at Elon Musk's chart? And I said an exalted Mars can be wonderful, but it can also be very cruel, particularly if it's with another cruel planet. An exalted Mars on its own will still have that toughness of Mars, but the logic, the logic is more is a bit more balanced. But of course, this is 2 cruel planets together. Saturn and Mars, and Saturn and Mars are not friends. So there's a conflict here. Saturn is a perfectionist planet, and Mars will agitate Saturn. But Mars is passion, energy, focus, and drive. And when you have the two together, Saturn and Mars together, but particularly when they're in the sign of Capricorn, this can mean an extremely driven person, extremely driven, almost pathological. Yeah, because you got the intensity of that Mars, which is exalted. Mars is with his enemy, Saturn, but Saturn is in his own sign. So they're actually boosting each other up. And they're in the 11th house of great gains. He's obsessed with his gains. Saturn is also a planet of efficiency. Saturn also deals with the underdog. Saturn also deals with the factory worker, the cleaner in the street, the office cleaner, is the roof tiler, but also as well people that work for the government. It's humble work. Saturn represents honest work, but it's humble. It's not flashy. So this is making me think of the people that work, of course, in his warehouses and production lines. Saturn is a planet of distribution systems. Mars is adding that passion, that focus, that drive. It's that martial quality. But Mars can be very ruthless. Yeah, the shadow of Mars is not only violence. His positives are logic. Yeah, he also deals with problem solving, logic, deals with engineers of all kinds. Jeff Bezos was, I think, started out as a computer engineer. Yeah, remember Amazon was like library books. Do you remember? It was started off as a library inventory way back in the 90s. Was one of the pioneers. So do you see how that energy works together? But you've got these two very powerful, but also very cruel planets. And this is the funny thing with the cruel planets. When they are exalted or powerful, they don't become less cruel. They often become more cruel, but they can give you superb results, but they can be just that ruthlessness there, because Saturn is known as a cold, dry planet. Cold and dry. And I think what have I written here? I put here, Jeff is a perfectionist workaholic who's constantly trying to perfect his systems for maximum efficiency. He has a cold, clinical, and possibly even cruel side, especially to getting great gains, because it's in the 11th house. Now, we know this, and I don't want people to think I'm just, Jeff Bezos bashing here. And that's why I read out that article beforehand. But everyone knows about the people that collapse, where they get worked so hard in these warehouses that they collapse. They have to take a pee in a bottle sometimes. All of them, I don't know if they still do it now, but they had to carry bottles around with them to pee in the bottles so that they could keep on with the production line. I was informed recently that, in fact, I think I just saw it. It was published somewhere online that they give free medicines away. And I was talking with a client. That was it. I was talking with a client of mine, and she showed me an article where they, in the Amazon warehouses, they give away like free medicines to keep the staff going, because so many of them collapse or end up in hospital out of exhaustion. Because Saturn is a workaholic planet. Yeah, so's the Sun. And both of these planets here are extremely strong in his chart. And so is Mars. So his malefics are very powerful. So his work ethic is astonishing. And of course, he expects that of his staff. But, they start collapsing everywhere. And, but it's that almost that ruthless efficiency. It's clinical. It's logical. Yeah, because Mars is also logic, figuring things out, systems. He's the marshal, the general. Saturn is all about simplicity, efficiency, getting the job done, but in a cold, clinical way. And then if we look over here at his 6th house, which I've just noticed now, the 6th house is literally the work house. It deals with service. It deals with repetitive tasks and routines and production lines. Also hotels and stuff like that, fitness. It also deals with pets. But isn't it interesting? Repetitive tasks. Here you've got Pluto and Uranus together. Pluto deals with what? Plutocrats. Now, we all got Pluto somewhere. It means we've all got a bit of a dictator in us somewhere. Yeah. It doesn't matter who you are. We all have shadow, yeah, that we have to work on. Yeah. And not necessarily expunge, but integrate. Yeah. So that we can become whole. A lot of the problems that we have in the world is, and we see it particularly in the elections, recent elections, is that there's lots of externalization. So that's when people project their shadow elements of themselves onto others and then blame them or scapegoat them. It's a classic psychological term, which is called projection, yeah, which I think it was Freud or Jung, one of those two. I think it was them anyway, but this is well known in psychology. It's called projection. We see a certain duck l'orange, a certain someone in the Oval Office who does that all the time. Whatever he accuses his opponents of, he's usually doing or has done. Yeah. That's just fact. Yeah. So here we see he has got Pluto. Now, remember, Pluto acts like a steroid as well. Pluto is an intensifier. He is the most intense planet. Yeah. Everyone talks about Saturn. My God, Pluto is just on another level. He is the planet of oligarchy, of Pluto, or plutocracy. But look who he's with. He's with Uranus. Uranus is the planet of sudden shocks and surprises, rebellion, mavericks, yeah, mavericks, geeks, geniuses, unconventional people and ideas, radical invention. But he's also the planet of what? Technology and AI. Of course, what has he done? Jeff Bezos has revolutionized the online shopping world. Yeah, if we think back in the day, you know, the majority of us would go to physical shops. This is why I've looked at Jeff Bezos, because his company has such influence. It's also what is contributing to a lot of the high streets around the world effectively dying down, really. Because if you think about it, particularly over COVID, we didn't have freedom of movement. No one could shop. And of course, if you're a retailer that sells everything, then of course you are competing with the high street. Think about it. It makes sense, doesn't it? So no one can shop, no one can go anywhere. So what do? You order stuff online. And then, of course, we've got into the habit of it because of the superb convenience. Now, of course, there's lots of things going on with boycotting Amazon. And of course, you've heard me talk about that on my other channels as well, where, you know, suggesting no buy Mondays, etc., you know, that kind of thing. Because that's what these characters, you know, recognize is their bottom line. But I just wanted to show you that intensity because he's got that combined together. This can also even deal with extraterrestrials out of space. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Jeff Bezos, particularly as a kid, may have had some alien encounters or intense dreams and visitations and stuff like that, because many of my clients, particularly born in that sort of from like 1959, 60 up until like 1966, 67. A lot of them have that Uranus Pluto combination, and a lot of them have had out of body experiences, contact with, you know, aliens, or just or very interesting relationships with tech and, you know, stuff like that. And the second that I learned that he was born in 1964, I was like, yeah, he's part of that generation that would have that. This is, of course, happening in Leo, sidereal Leo. And Leo, of course, is the sign of leadership. So he's become one of the top leaders in tech, even though he's not like Nvidia, or he's not like DeepSeek, or you know, has founded his own AI thing. He really is into tech. Those The way he streamlined all of those warehouses, he uses as many machines as possible. Production lines, systems, sixth house, yeah, production lines, repetitive tasks. He's got that down to a fine art because he's got that very perfectionist Saturn and that incredibly determined and quite ruthless Mars. So it's ruthless efficiency, plus combined with that strong intensity in terms of research and that obsession with his career and how to improve. This is someone that always wants to improve, and he is in very good shape as well. This is someone that likes to work out. He's very disciplined, extremely disciplined. It's just unfortunate about that cruel aspect. If we look here, he has a very strong Venus in the 12th house. Now, the 12th house is known as losses, etc. But look, let's not forget, I also say the 12th house deals with passive income. It deals with indirect income. This is what I found. 12th house also deals with what? Shipping. The 12th house is relative to Pisces, the 12th sign, which is an oceanic sign. The 12th house is international. Anytime a person has got a planet in the 12th house, they will either potentially live abroad or they would love to travel. But many times they can actually earn their income from foreign sources. I've seen this time and time again. It's really interesting. My moon is in the 12th house. Look, the majority of my clients are what? Overseas. Only about I would say about 2% of my clients are from the UK. Literally about 2%. The rest international, most America, but all over the world. Yeah. 12th house. He's got his Venus here, strong in the sign of Aquarius. And I actually give this sign this nickname because of Jeff Bezos, but I refer to Aquarius as the Amazon online of the zodiac. Yeah, the Amazon online of the zodiac. And Venus is the planet of wealth and luxuries. And Venus is said to be the only planet that picks up strength in the 12th house because the 12th house is relative to the 12th sign Pisces, where she is considered exalted in Vedic astrology. So this is a powerful Venus as well. So do you see here, most of his planets are actually in strong dignity. In fact, the vast majority are, the vast majority of them are. So, but if we look here, you see this thing that looks like a little key. That is Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer. So wherever Chiron is, it will show where we potentially received a wound in life. It could be mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, financial. Whatever that planet represents can also show a potential wound there as well. Now, Venus deals with women, yeah? And it's in the man's chart, it is the wife. But Venus is also secondary characteristics of the mother, and also can represent sisters, also female bosses, friends, etc. So there's some wounding here. So my inclination would be to think that maybe in his college years, he may have struggled to get girlfriends. That's just my instinct with that combination, or there's been some kind of wounding there, or maybe even aspects to do with his mother, maybe wounding conversations, or she was wounded in some kind of way. But this will speak about the wife. So what I'm going to do is, one second, let's minimize down, and I hope you're finding this interesting, guys. I'm scrolling down this bit here. Let me do another, actually, I think I have to do stop share and then share again. Let's actually look up, oh, there's 89 of you here. Thank you so much for joining me, folks. How am I doing on time? Oh God, you see what it's like once I start talking about the astrology. Let's look up Jeff Bezos' wife. She's quite a character. Do you remember do you remember Mark Zuckerberg was having a good old look at someone's décolletage, so we say. So let's do share screen, and let's just do a quick Google of Jeff Bezos's wife. Now, oh, let me just see, 1 minute. What am I doing? 1 second, let me cancel that. Let me go up here. There we are. And then go back. I needed to get the tab open. And let's just have a little Google, because there's a wounding there. When Chiron is with Venus, it can mean there can be woundings as a result of the wife, yeah, in some kind of way. What am I doing? I'm getting this kind of wrong. Put that. Ah, there we are. There we are. Share. There we go. All right. So let's do this. So let's put here Jeff Bezos wife. Looks like she's called Mackenzie Scott. And let's do images. So here she is. Yeah. Now she's quite known for her rather daring outfits. Oh, it looks like there's more than one wife. I don't know how many. So you see here, rather fond of plunging necklines, etc. I have a feeling that's just something that Jeff is very much into. Looks like this looks like maybe an earlier wife. Mackenzie announced divorce. Okay, so maybe this was the first one. Looks like this is the second one. Interesting. Both brunettes. Yeah. Yeah, definitely interesting alterations there, shall we say. But it can show that he's probably had some challenges. And let me just put here, let's put here, daring outfits, because she's outfits. Let me just see if they show more. So yeah, you see here quite an interesting style choices, shall we say. But his Venus is very strong, so it can give a very it can mean that the wife has a lot of influence, and of course, this was the White House inauguration day, which of course garnered quite a lot of headlines. But you can see she loves to look after her figure. She does have a fabulous figure. No one can deny that. But it's quite interesting. But it can also show that there might be an aspect where a person, particularly a man with this combination, may struggle with his spouse, and feels either wounded or the spouse themselves might be wounded in some kind of way. So I just thought you might find that quite interesting. Here as well, I've also put here, if I share, I want to show you his Neptune. Yeah, his Neptune in the 8th house. That's quite interesting. And then I'm going to wrap things up. So let's go back to present again. Share screen, and then do entire screen. There we are. Share, get back up his chart. Yes, I want to look here. It's not actually. Let me just get here. Chart screen options. Okay, 1 minute. Why is it not showing? Oh, there's the numbers. Oh, here, it was just tucked away. Behind here, I need to change my settings a bit. There's a number 8. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And what I've put here is now he's got Neptune in the 8th house. Now, remember, the 8th house are referred to as the house of what? Sex, death, and rock and roll. It also deals with taboos, scandals. It can also do with addictions as well. Now, Neptune is quite a narcotic planet. Yeah, and it also deals with alcohol, gases of all kinds, substances. Mind-altering substances is very much the purview of Neptune. Yeah, so I've put here, because it's Neptune in the 8th. Now, Neptune also deals with secrets and gaslighting and stuff like that. It can be very spiritual, though, as well. So I don't want to deny that aspect. I'm not sure how spiritual he is, but I want to talk about the whole scope. So people, I want to try and be fair. So what I put here, though, I put here, Jeff may have hidden addictions / kinkiness. Yeah, this is quite a kinky combination, I must say, for entertainment purposes only, but it's true. Neptune in the 8th is going to be pretty out there. Yeah. And I put here even possible perversions, maybe even a bit of wife swapping. Yeah, I don't want to say it too loud. Yeah. Well, then, putting the keys in the bowl and people selecting wives, again, for entertainment purposes only, that's purely speculative, and I cannot prove what I've said there, but I'm just looking at the chart. Anyway, but also as well, drink and drugs could possibly, but psychedelics as well. I have a feeling with him he's probably more into the psychedelics, to be honest. That's my instinct. He's quite techie, quite geeky, and quite a lot of the techie, geeky types, they're into like microdosing and mushrooms and stuff like that. So I have a feeling he's probably tried a bit of that, especially with that combination. And many of my clients who have that combination, they've dabbled, not necessarily now, but in the past. Sometimes as well, people with Neptune in the 8th, they actually stop drinking altogether because they can't handle it. Sometimes it just affects them too much. But I put here microdosing and even spirituality more likely in his Jupiter Dasha. That's what I've put. He's currently in his Rahu Dasha, but I wanted to share that as well. So there are hidden sides to Jeff that do not meet the eye. But I would imagine if you were a close friend of Jeff, you probably would find out some stuff. Yeah, you probably find out some stuff. Let's put it that way. One thing I forgot to mention as well, which is probably one of the most important things to mention, is that he has his Rahu, gobble, gobble, in the sign of Gemini, which I said is what? One of the main signs of business. Wherever Rahu is, we can also have addictions or be insatiable in that kind of sense. So it shows he has a great appetite for what? Commerce, media, business, sales, and it's also in the nakshatra Ardra, which I refer to as drama Ardra. And Ardra is a very specific part of the sky. It's a very tumultuous part of the sky. Here it's basically Gemini and Sagittarius are very tumultuous. And Mula is the most tumultuous part of Sagittarius, and his moon is in Mula and Mercury is in Mula. And the most tumultuous part of Gemini is Ardra, that middle part. So it shows that there's a lot of transformation and strong emotions and significant life experiences that we may not be aware of that would have certainly impacted his life and his philosophy. And of course, he's made a huge impact in the world. But I call drama Ardra for a reason, because Ardra is very interesting. It's a very intelligent nakshatra, and it's very much associated with business. But when it goes dark, it can go very, very dark. And Rahu can be very exploitative. Rahu also deals with extreme greed. Here, he has it in the 4th house, which isn't the best place to have Rahu, because the 4th house is the heart chakra. It's our sense of security, our sense of home. So it can give a person an insatiable appetite for real estate. But the 4th house also deals with boats. Yeah, vehicles. I think he's got at least one yacht. I don't know about his collection, but he will certainly have things to do with, real estate, boats, etc. Of course, his warehouses will also count as real estate, because of course he will own those warehouses, or lease them at the very least, I would imagine. So they are the houses, of course, for his businesses. And of course, he's got those all over America and all over the world. Again, that Rahu expansion. But it just means there is an insatiability there. And sometimes it means he doesn't know what his true heart's desire is. He struggles to connect with his heart. Yeah. Because when Rahu is in the 4th house, sometimes the person doesn't know what they want, because Rahu kind of wants everything. And it can be quite disturbed and unsettled. Maybe he's managed to get around this with time. Normally it settles with time, but not always. So I just wanted to share that. So there is that element there, even though he is a multi-billionaire and is considered the 2nd richest man in the world. But really, for me, I think he's actually richer than Elon Musk in terms of his own merits. Yeah. Elon relies a lot on the government contracts, and his Tesla price is tethered to that. Whereas, of course, Bezos is a genuine person of industry. He serves literally the whole millions of people every day. So I just thought I would share that aspect there. There is that restlessness in the heart, an almost insatiable appetite for wealth and gains, but this ruthless efficiency as well. But again, it's if you're a billionaire, you know, if by the time several millions aren't enough for you, then obviously, you know, you're on a bit of a different trajectory to most people. I'm sure many of you would agree. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. What's this? Let's see here. Deborah's saying, Teresa, I had to introduce my autocorrect. Oh, to some words. Okay. Everyone's there in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us, joining me, but you guys being here. Let's get little readouts. Martine says, in Quebec, Canada, we have 7 Amazon warehouses, and one of them was able to unionize. Wow. She closes all 7 warehouses in the province. Wow. So only one. Angela saying that was funny to see at the inauguration. Yeah, my gosh. You know, Zuckerberg didn't know where to put his eyes. He kept glancing down. Thanks for this update. Marsh 2 Meadows said the first wife got a huge settlement and giving away hundreds of millions to charities. Wow. Okay, so you see there is that element there of the wounding. The wife felt wounded, but he may have felt injured by the wife because the first one she got. Yes, I remember now. It was massive, wasn't it? And good for her giving it to charity, which has just reminded me 12th house is also charity. And 12th house also deals with losses, so it can deal as well with losses via the wife. He lost a ton of money. Yeah, obviously that's not really dented things. the pandemic, he quickly made it up. So I'm going to be tottering off now. Thank you, Teresa. And just saying that was very interesting. Sherry said, fantastic as always. Looking forward to Thursday, if not before. Yes. So the next show, what's this here? They probably chucked keys in the bowl at the inauguration, Angela says. Yeah, I bet they did. I bet they did. I hope you found that interesting. Of course, if you are new to the channel, please consider liking and subscribing and sharing this with others if you found that interesting. Thanks so much for joining me. Edie, you're here as well. Gosh, a lot of you this evening. It wasn't you know, normally I like to pre-record these things, but I find the quality of the sound is better. So when, you know, I like going live anyway. Right. So I will leave it there. So thank you so much for everyone for joining me. The next you will see me should be on Thursday, Fry Up. And then, of course, Hogelish on Saturday for the Saturday slot until, of course, it changes to Wednesdays, but not until, what's that? That's going to be the 2nd of April, I think it is. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Big love, and I will see you soon. All right. Bye-bye from now.